I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, September the 10th, brought to you in part by Legacy Beef Cooperative and Cattlemen's Heritage Beef Plant near Council Bluffs, Iowa. There's still plenty of units available if you guys want to get into the co-op. A solution for cattle producers and farmer feeders, and it's a good investment for a lifetime, guys. Check out the video at the end of this. It's that interview that I did with them and tells you all about it. You guys get interested in it, give them a call or get online and check them out. Also, Beaver County Stockyards in Beaver, Oklahoma. We've been talking about it for several weeks here. This Tuesday here today is the Feeder Flash Beaver Clash Feeder Cattle Special in Beaver. Going to have close to 5,000 head. Have 1,800 to 2,000 calves, a ton of calves, and quality outstanding. Several long strings of really reputable calves there, including another big string from that ranch there in Borger that topped the market last week. They're going to have another 250 so head of 550-pound steer calves. They're fresh off their mamas, but quality is outstanding there, guys. A lot of 4 to 6 weight calves, and they'll also have some flyweight calves there available too. Lots of yearlings, 2,800, maybe 3,000 head of yearlings. Going to be about 600 of those are going to be heifers. Most of them weighing in the 6 and 7s. Going to be one consignment of big heifers weighing 800 to 1,000 pounds. But the steers, maybe 2,400 yearling steers, 25 to 30 loads of them. Most of them weighing from 800 to 1,000 pounds. A lot of them are going to be on the thin side, coming in off grass, guys. And I mean, I don't know where else you could go to find them in a thin condition, quality outstanding. There also will be several smaller consignments of grazing type yearlings there. But a really good sale here at Beaver County Stockyards. I'm going to be heading up there in the middle of the night to help them out a little bit. Wednesday, this is the first week they're going to go to 2 days a week, so they're going to have a cow sale on Wednesday. Expecting 300 to 400 cows. Be the normal offering of cows, mostly weigh up cows with a few bred cows and pairs in the mix there. But big happenings there at Beaver County Stockyards in Beaver, Oklahoma. The algorithms overcorrect, and that's why we see the cattle board, you know, just topsy-turvy. You know, it's very volatile. And late last week, for the last 2 days of the week, it went down more than it should have, more than we expected it to. Well, we're glad that it did, but on Monday, it overcorrected on Monday, went up pretty good. We're hoping for some more of that here, but that is, it's hard to follow, guys. And the down days are bigger than the up days, so we're slowly losing ground here. And I've been telling you guys, we're in a down market, likely going to be for some time, but it would be nice if we could you know, plateau here for just a little bit, maybe gain a few dollars back in our cash fat cattle position, market position there, but we've just been in a free fall on that. But they overdid it late last week. Early on Monday, your October live cattle futures were under 174, when our 5 area weighted average last week was over 181. That's too much. It's got to come back a little bit, and it finally did, and then the algorithms run it past likely where everybody wants to be, but you can't stop that thing on a dime. And that is one reason that CME is rumored to be considering lowering those daily limit moves. And I think they should do it. You know, they've got them cranked up there so much now that they can literally take your head off. So I'm hoping that they will trim back on them a little bit. They haven't said anything about the feeder cattle, but I think they could sure trim down on the daily limit moves on them also. Getting here into the fall of the year, pulled my felt hat out. Gosh dang, it feels good to have something solid on your head. If you guys are looking for a good hat to wear, get you an American hat. They're the best. And I know, you know, we had the big names back 20, 30 years ago that were big. They're just not up to snuff anymore. And it's kind of in vogue now to go to some of those smaller hat shops and get them. I've had those hats. They're just mush, guys. A good hat is supposed to be firm and crisp. Get you a good American hat. They've been doing it for 110 years in Bowie, Texas right there, guys. And I tell you what, they are the deal. You get your hands on a good American hat and you'll know the difference, guys. I'm heading up to North Dakota later this week, and I'm going to be packing my jacket. So figured I better switch over to the felt hat. I don't want to be caught with a jacket and a straw hat on. Don't like that at all. Let's talk about your board on Monday to start the week out. October live cattle futures. We're up $1.75 at 176.92. December was up $2.10 at 176.80. Back months were all higher from 120 to 242 higher. Feeder cattle up big, guys. And this is another opportunity to be looking for some strike prices out there on your LRPs, guys. September feeder cattle were up 342 at 237.72. October was up 377 at 234.72. And your back months, where you'll likely find the strike prices when you're going to be selling calves or maybe some turnout cattle, they were all up big from 347 to 385 higher. Check them out, guys. Don't let this market get plumb away from you. How about your grains? December corn was up 1 cent a bushel at 407 1/4. November beans up 13 at 10.18. Kansas City hard red winter wheat for December down 1 3/4 cent at 575 3/4. Weighted average on last week's fat cattle trade coming to you from Legacy Beef Co-op there, as we talked earlier. We sold about 52,600 head negotiated cash last week. That compared to 54,600 the week before and 47,200 the same week a year ago. Live prices of fat steers and heifers in your 5 area feeding region on a direct basis, 179 to 185. That 179 was off the mark. There was only 130 that sold that way, mostly 181 to 185. But that price spread was $2 lower. Your weighted average on live steers was 180-118. That was $2.63 lower than the weighted average from the previous week. We can't keep giving up $2 to $3 on a weighted average every week, guys. This market is getting completely away from us. You got to dig in a little bit. Dress sales, fat steers and heifers in your 5 area, mostly in the northern plains, range from 286 to 289. That 289 was an extreme high there that happened on Friday, but there was nearly 500 that sold that way. That price spread was $1 higher on the bottom side to $4 lower on the top side, so kind of uneven, but your weighted average on dressed steers was 287.54, $2.75 lower than the previous week's dressed weighted average. Nationwide, we sold 67,600 all over the country negotiated, compared to 65,500 the previous week and only 56,800 the same week a year ago. This is the time of year where your packers really try to work the market lower and not buying a lot of cattle in a negotiated manner. Of the 67,600 negotiated last week, we sold, on top of that, negotiated grid sales of 43,500. Very little forward contracting being done. Only 5,100 head forward contracts signed last week. Formula sales, 253,900 head. But about 32% of our negotiated cash movement last week was for the 15 to 30 day delivery, which is fairly typical, but we need to keep that under wraps. That's how they set us up like they did here a couple of weeks ago. Of your 4 out of 5 regions that we get information from last week negotiated, Iowa sold 21,900. Nebraska sold 17,900. That's pretty light for them. Kansas 8,600 and Texas only 4,200. Box beef cutout values for Monday afternoon were mixed, with choice cuts down 89 cents at 308.52. Selects up 237 at 298.49. Slaughter to start the week out on Monday, pretty light, 114,000. Can't compare it to the same day a week ago because that was Labor Day. But compared to the same week a year ago, we're 9,000 light on that for the Monday. Talk about what else is going on. Western Video Market is having their big Haythorn Ranch sale outside of Ogallala, Nebraska, here today at September the 10th. They're going to start the pre-show at 9 o'clock in the morning Central. They're going to start the sale at 9:15 in the morning Central here today on Tuesday. Check them out. They got like 3 lots of lambs. Then they're going to roll right into the fancy calves, and they got a jillion of them coming from Nebraska, guys. A lot of central U.S. cattle there on the Western sale. They got some nice consignments from South Dakota, Colorado, Montana. Then they'll start moving west. And then they'll get back out there in Idaho, California, and Oregon, and some of those fancy Western calves there. Then after lunch, they've got several groups of yearlings, several lots of nice yearling cattle from all over, and then finish up with some breeding stock. So don't forget about them. Go to wvmcattle.com or go to DVAuction.com and select Western Video Market. Watch the sale, get approved, bid on that sale if you want to. It'd be a real premium sale there with quality outstanding, guys. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DVAuction late in the day on Monday, based on an 800-pound cash auction steer up through your middle 12 states, was $1.86 lower than the end of last week at 241.82. Your latest CME cash feeder cattle index hanging right in there at 243.92, but it will fall by the time it comes out again, because we're always a precursor to that because it doesn't keep up. But just some big high volume commodity cattle markets there, pulled it down quite a bit. Joplin Regional Stockyards had 14,200 head of cattle. Wow, huge sale. They started at 2:30 in the morning. They were loading out just lines of pots there by 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. The cattle mostly come in like this from local producers with big rigs there, big goosenecks there, and then the cattle were going out like this on those pots that are lined up around there. But I tell you what, the facilities they got there are the finest in the world, and they can absolutely market that many cattle through there with no big problem, guys. They were done before dark. Feeder steers $5 to $6 higher than 2 weeks ago, what the market reporter called them there. Feeder heifers $3 to $8 lower, which sounds a little bit confusing there, but he typically does a pretty good job calling the market there. I didn't get a chance to hear Jackie's video. You guys might want to do that. Go to Joplin Regional Stockyards on YouTube and watch Jackie's video. I'm not sure if he did one tonight or if he'll do it in the morning, but I didn't get a chance to see that, to see what he called it. But tell you what, they marketed a lot of cattle, and it was a good test of the market in the lower Midwest. Check out the National Beef Wire stick-out sale of the day, and it was Joplin Regional Stockyards. And just look at these big strings of cattle and all these weights, especially on the steers. This is what they're worth, guys, in the lower Midwest. How about 1,405 head of 5-weight steers? They average 550 pounds with a weighted average price of $264.50. 1,634 head of 6-weight steers average $647 at $250-$268. There were 1,503 head of 7-weight steers, Carthage, Missouri, there at Joplin Regional Stockyards, averaged $755. The weighted average price of $240-$270, and 1,831 head of 8-weight steers averaged $846 at $233.68. 2,403 head of 9-weight steers averaged $939 at $222.34. Look at the heifers and the best tested weights. You can see that a lot of those were put together steers that were turned out there locally, and not nearly as many heifers. It might be why we get up and down type of a trend there. But 1,319 head of 5-weight heifers averaged $547 at 245.11. 1,084 head of 6-weight heifers averaged 648 at 235.33, and 776 head of 7-weight heifers dropped in regional stockyards had an average price of 745, weighted average price of 226.20. The most outstanding group they had at Joplin, and it was a humdinger. How about 468 head in one swath? They weighed 945 pounds and bring 227.10. Add that up, that's over $1 million on one draft of cattle. Probably took less than 30 seconds to sell them. How about Oklahoma National Stockyards in Oklahoma City? They had a huge run too. Glad to see them have a big run. Had 10,500 head. Good to see Oklahoma City having a big run like that. Compared to 2 weeks ago, feeder steers were $1 to $5 lower. Feeder heifers were $2 to $7 lower. I mean, the market's that much lower, guys. It's going to happen everywhere. Calves were $5 to $10 lower, and they did mention that they had a lot of unweaned offerings in the city there on Monday. Give you some individual quotes from all around. How about Tina Livestock in Tina, Missouri? Had 100 head, 568-pound steer calves, bring 296.75. Thought that was pretty impressive. How about Eastern Nebraska? Elgin Livestock Sales in Elgin, Nebraska. My buddy Ted Baum there give me the heads up on 211 head of 917-pound steers, bring 244.50. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Monday, your Macrocin No BS top quote for the day, come out of Russell, Iowa at Russell Livestock Market. That's a DVAuction broadcaster. We're proud to have them. They sell 61 steers, weight 794, almost 800 pounds, and bring 256.25. And that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.
I'm Corbett Wall with this feeder flash feature. I'm here with Chad Tinniger from Legacy Beef Co-op and Cattlemen's Heritage. And we're going to give you some information about getting in on the ground floor of a co-op that's going to own part of Cattlemen's Heritage, a new privately owned packing plant. Hopefully we'll give you an opportunity to stay profitable and stay in the cattle feeding business and compete with the big four packers. How you doing today, Chad?
Good, Corbett. Glad to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit about this new and exciting venture that you've got going?
Yeah, I'd love to. So we started out, Legacy Co-op is a outshoot of Cattlemen's Heritage Beef Company, the new processing plant outside of Council Bluffs. That'll be 525,000 head a year. We'll be processing right outside of Council Bluffs off of the I-29 corridor over there. We got about 132 acres. We've cleared the land. We're ready to break ground next spring. And Legacy Co-op will be the supply of the cattle that will feed that plant with the producer involvement.
Okay, so all the cattle that come into that plant will be through Legacy Co-op.
That is the goal, yes. We want to make sure that the producer has a say in how the plants run, the say in how the market works. All these things that we as producers, when I put my producer cap on, I want to get the best value for my cattle. Well, I don't think there's any way I can ever get the best value for my cattle if I don't participate in the processing end of it, because obviously in the last decade we've seen very clearly that the only way we're ever going to get what we think we deserve is to actually participate in the ownership.
Okay, so you say these co-op members are going to have a say in what goes on at the plant. How's that going to work?
So how we've set up the co-op is it's buying shares. One share is one delivery obligation a year. So there's 525,000 shares up for sale. Once you deliver your cattle, what you're going to gain in the beginning is you're going to get access to a grid. Everybody knows how grid works, premiums and discounts. But our grid's going to be tied to the box beef cutout. We are not going to tie it to the CME. We fundamentally believe that the CME does not represent the cattle fundamentals in the country on a day-to-day basis. I think we could all agree to that. There's no traders in the pits anymore. There's no human contact. It's computer algorithms trading on headlines, and we're at the mercy of it. So beginning, the fundamental belief is let's tie it to the box beef cutout. At least then we know we got a fair shake. You also, if you're a member of the co-op, you get a $25 bonus every time you deliver. So automatically it's $25 more than you would have got anywhere else. And then at the end of the day, for buying into the co-op, that co-op is going to have roughly, give or take, 20% ownership in Cattlemen's Heritage Beef Company. So true ownership in the plant, in the company, in the brand, whatever we can create out of this, you have ownership in and get a margin in those profits.
So these unit shares, you assume they're going to gain in value as time goes on.
Every other company that we've looked at like this in the pork industry, there's more of these companies with producer involvement. All those shares just increase in value. You can sell them. You can, your kids can inherit them, pass it down. But ultimately, you have a say in how the system works that you're participating in.
So you're offering producers an opportunity to get in on the ground floor.
Yeah, I've been in this business my whole life, and we as producers, my whole life we've been saying, we don't have any say in how we sell our product, what comes from it. We're at the mercy of everybody. This is an opportunity to be in the ground floor at the cheapest you're going to get in, to actually take ownership in a company that you'll participate in. We've set it up. The Cattlemen's Heritage will have its own board. The co-op will have its own board. They will work together hand in hand in an advisory board. Each board will have 2 members of the other. So we have true ownership in the game. So when we talk about how are we going to sell cattle or how's the grid going to work exactly, you're going to have a seat at the table with us deciding those very things.
So the plan itself, you're expecting to pretty much run on a consistent margin then, and then the extra money is going to be premiums for the producer?
Yeah, it's a pretty simple system. You tie a grid to a set point. We're going to tie it to the box beef cutout. Then you have to plant production. You can't break the plant, right? It costs X amount to run. You minus that out, and then you start on quality of cattle. You're still going to be paid for quality cattle on a premium discount basis. That would be very similar to how grid works today. One thing we are looking at pretty closely that we might change, especially when you get discounts on 4s and 5s. Right. In today's world, in reality, there's not really much of a discount on a 4. And what's coming up that a lot of people probably don't realize, but 45Z, it's a huge tax credit that's coming on the tax code for anything biofuels. That's what all the ethanol industry is doing. That's what they're talking about. That's why they're paying you. Well, our fats and tallows in the cattle are worth gold right now going to the biodiesel. And we're not getting a part of that. And there's going to be yet another revenue stream that we won't see. So, when you start adding up all the value adds that we as producers do, that we don't participate in, at a certain point in time, all of us producers are just saying, I'm doing the most I will do to create value that I don't get to participate in.
So we talked about the cattle. What kind of cattle are you looking for?
We're just really looking for northern western genetics, right? That's going to be the cattle, the kind of cattle we feed where we are. If you put a pin in Council Bluffs, that's where the plant will be. You go 300 miles in any direction, that's a lot of high quality cattle. And so we're not going to limit it to just black hided or anything like that. It'll be just all quality cattle because the system's still set up. You deliver quality, you'll make more money.
Okay, so no particular program. Yeah. It's just where you're at on the globe, that's the kind of cattle you want.
That's exactly right.
Type cattle.
Yeah, and the system will work that if somebody thinks they're going to deliver really bad cattle, the negatives will still be there. Yeah. So it doesn't work. It still functions the same. And within that, over time, again, will there be programs that maybe develop like anything does? There could be. If there's more value at the end, of course, why wouldn't we bring it back into the plant? And then again, the co-op will own 20% of the plant, so it's a true dividend at the end of the year.
So are you looking at that Cattlemen's Heritage having a retail label?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the end goal is create a brand. Okay. So we've talked a lot about the last 3 years. We're 3 years into due diligence of this plant. That's why we're so confident in where we are today. What we've discovered is the cattle industry has done the worst job ever of telling its story of its greatest asset, and that's the farmers and ranchers and producers. We have all these amazing men and women working every day in this industry. We don't tell their story.
Right.
So we're going to tell the story. Our marketing is going to be, look at these family farmers, look at the ranchers, look at what they do every day. When they don't do a good job, they lose farms. They lose their livelihood. So you better believe if anything in the world of doing the best quality for what you're putting on your kitchen table, it comes out of our farmers and ranchers.
How are you going to compete with the Big Four?
So there's a couple ways. We have done 3 years of due diligence to figure out why plants don't work when they don't work. What causes a failure, right? Undercapitalized, we have the capital. Bad location, that I cannot overstate having a bad location. We're outside of Council Bluffs. There's 1 million people right outside that door. So we have plenty of work. The other thing we look at is, how do you compete? That's the question, right? How do you compete? Well, the co-op will be a supply of cattle. That's a bunch of producers that have signed up to deliver cattle because they want to share in the upside profits. So on the front side, you can't outbid the cattle. Those cattle are already committed. They're coming in, and they're committed because they're going to get rewarded better. So we know we'll have the cattle supply coming into the plant. Then selling the beef, what we found over the last 3 years is, as frustrated as we get as producers that we can only really sell to a handful of companies, on the retail side, there's a lot of frustration on that end too, that they only get to buy from a couple of companies. So we've been contacted by over 80 companies to buy beef today.
But at this point, you haven't gone into partnership with any prospective customers.
We haven't yet, but we're finalizing some of that. We will have a major partner on offer.
I think you need to.
And we will. We're working through that. So what we wanted to make sure is, A, do we have the capital to build? Can we build the right plant, a highly efficient plant? Are we in the right location? Once we cleared all those hurdles, that's a big part of what a retailer, an end user wants to know too.
Sure.
Do you guys have all your ducks in a row so when we're ready to buy meat? So before we break ground, we'll have a major partner signed up to buy the product. Another way that we've done that we feel is really important is, these old plants, they're old, they're tired, they're inefficient. They started by, processing 2,000 head a day, they're doing 5,000 head a day.
Right.
And, there's plants in this country that, if you built them today, might have 2 forklifts and they got 36 running around that plant, things like that. The way we've designed it with new technology, proven technology, our technology came out of Europe, New Zealand, and Australia. And the reason we're doing that is they hit their labor issues 20 years before we did. So in a world where labor's tight, especially in this industry, you got to be as efficient as you can. We will process 2,000 head a day. A typical plant takes 1,200 employees to do that. We'll have 800.
Wow.
400 less employees. That translates to $25 million a year in savings to the plant, which transfers $50 a head cheaper production cost. So our plant will operate at a cheaper per head production cost than any plant in the system. And that's where you get the margin. So when you start thinking about how they're going to squeeze you out, well, they'd have to start losing $100 a head where we start breaking even. And that's an important part of this that we looked at. Again, it's not that complicated to say, I'm going to go build a plant and then just go throw one up somewhere. What's complicated is to be successful.
Right. And I assume you've got your team pretty well set, because you've got to have people that have experience in this kind of stuff, because it's a tough business.
Yeah, we get asked that a lot, and that's a really important question. And I make sure everybody knows today, I'm the head of the company. I will not be running a plant. That is not my expertise. I've never claimed to be that guy. But what we will do is, the beauty of what's happening in the system is, because there's just a few companies that really have the top guys out there, a lot of people retire 56 to 60 out of that world, and there's a lot of people,
done yet.
They're not even close to done.
Right.
There is so much talent in this space that's there to available. We've identified it. We've hired advisors from day one. So I have an advisor that his entire job is just to identify that talent and make sure that when we open our doors, we have the right talent in place. Because there's another way. If you want to fail, just don't put the team together. Try and save money on your management team. That's a great way to fail.
So, we're looking for some new co-op members. And how much risk do you think there is involved in this?
What we've done is we went 2.5 years and we talked to producers and got all their point of views and heard every comment we could talk about. And at the end of the day, we developed this program we're in today. And this is the final program we're going out. So what it is, there's various stages of the co-op membership. You are rewarded to get in early. The first round, there's 5 rounds. The first round is $125 a unit. It goes up $25 every round. It's split pretty evenly through the rounds. So that's not a huge investment in the cattle world today.
No, that's especially the prices we're at now.
The way it is today. How it works is right now it's $25 down. So if you want to buy a unit today, it's $25 down. Okay. That holds your spot. Then we're going to come out in end of the year, right at the end of the year with the final, here's your final agreement, sign up. If you decide at that point in time, you know what, something's changed, I don't want in on this, we'll refund $15. We got to keep 10 because we spent 10 to put the system together. So all you're really putting at risk today is $10. $10 a unit. And if you don't like it at the end, your 15 comes home. If you do like it at the end, before we break ground, roughly 30 days before we break ground, the balance of it will be owed. We made it as simple as we could. To be honest, when we first started this, I was hoping to have the producers own 60, 70% of this. We found there's not a lot of appetite for that because then you're talking $500, $600, $700 a unit. I understand that. That's a lot of money.
Well, it sounds to me like you're not really looking at this co-op to give the bulk of your capital to build this plant.
Absolutely not.
You're ready to build the plant. You're just giving folks opportunity to get into the supply of the cattle.
The plant's going to get built no matter what, because what we've done in 2.5 years is we've found the debt, we found the equity, we're working on all these pieces of the pie. We've got the MPAP award from the USDA, which is the largest, the $25 million you can get from that to build more packing industry, right? So we've been working on all these pieces. At the end of the day, the $100 million, roughly, if you sell 520,000 units, that's come from producers, but that's a $500 million plant. So that's where you get your 20% ownership, give or take. It's a true equity play. And for us, that's the passion of it. The producers need to get involved so we have the final say in the outcome also. Anybody that's in the cattle industry should be in this. And I tell bankers, I'm talking to a lot of bankers, there's not a cattle feeder that I know that shouldn't take this opportunity. When you think about what it costs, if you return $25 a head just on, once a year, it gets one space, but that's 5 years, your initial investment's back just off of that, and then you've risked nothing.
Right.
It's a low risk maneuver that opens up a top end. So we did a lot of data mining to find out how the math works. In the last decade, if you just take an average of how the industry has worked in the past, box beef versus what an average would be is about 61.3% of the box beef cutout is where the industry has averaged in the past. In fact, from 04 to 13, that was exactly what it averaged, 61.3. If you take that same number, extend it to today for the last 10 years, you'll find between what we sold our cattle for and what the packer had at 61.3, there's $206 on every animal of a margin that we didn't participate in. So I've heard a big pushback I've had is, well, if you're going to give the producer all the money, the pack goes broke. Well, I'm here to tell you, the numbers don't lie. You can do the data mining yourself and figure it out. There's $206 on every head we sold in the last decade on average that we didn't participate in that margin. I'm not saying it's all ours as producers. I'm just saying there's a buffer there that certainly there's a middle ground we should all partake in.
Right, right.
We've been told our whole lives, you do it our way, you don't get paid at all. Now we're sitting here saying, if you do it, if we create more value, we're going to pay you for it.
Well, Chad, thanks for all the information here about Legacy Beef Co-op and Cattlemen's Heritage. If folks are interested in making an investment or finding out more about this, where should they go?
Best place to go would be go to legacybeefcoop.com or cattlemensheritage.com. Either one will give you a link to go here to get the information.
Okay. Well, I appreciate all the information today and enjoyed the visit.
Thank you.